My husband left early in the morning and said that he wanted me to get a truck ready, that he was going to be driving down to Miami to put on the freight cargo down to Costa Rica the next day. And he didn't show up that day for feeding, which he always comes back at least in time for feeding around 7 o'clock. So when he still wasn't here by 11 o'clock, I still wasn't too concerned. When he didn't come home the rest of the night, then we turned him in as a missing person, and we haven't seen or heard anything since then.
Well, that's very interesting. So Dateline comes on tomorrow evening. That would be Monday, October 12th. And apparently they have an interview with Carol Baskin that has not been seen before. So I'm not sure that they did a story in the past and it aired, or I'm not real sure. But I'm really curious as to what other kind of footage they have, because we have multiple stories, I believe, of what happened Monday morning. We have the story from Anne McQueen where Carol tells her the last time she saw Don was when they went to church, but he did not go. He was being pouty. But here's what I'm going to do. Let's read her diary entry that she had published. And what we need to find out is if the stuff in her diary entry is going to match the stuff that she mentions in the Dateline interview. So we'll have to pay close attention to it. So let's read some of this. Dawn has been missing since yesterday morning before dawn, which isn't unusual, except that he didn't call Anne McQueen all day. And she said she even paged him into the night, and he still did not call her back. Well, if I recall the interview with Anne McQueen, she called him all weekend and paged him over the weekend, not just that day, because this diary entry is on Tuesday. And she's talking about yesterday morning as Monday. She said in all the years that she has worked for him that he has never failed to call her for such a long period of time. He's been real pouty and moody lately and ignoring us when we talk to him, but we never know if we're being snubbed or if he just didn't hear us. Now, that's not Anne talking. That's Carol making up an excuse, I think, about him ignoring people, and he's been pouty and moody, doesn't want to talk to you. I think she's just throwing something out there. My opinion. If it's not important, I just let it slide and don't ask louder. So she's insinuating that he didn't hear his phone ringing or his pager. That's how I take that. We haven't had a fight other than the ongoing issue about him not getting keys to the cages, and to that end, after he began just cutting holes in the cages to get the cats out, I gave him a set of keys and told him that I didn't have copies of the bigger cat's keys, but that I would make him a set soon. Now, she says we haven't had a fight. Now, Anne says Don came into work Friday morning, the 15th, and they had an argument Thursday night, and he slept in one of the trailers. So I find it very odd that she puts this in there. Like, you don't even need to put it in there. He's missing. He's missing. I would be like, they're missing. I'm trying to find them. But instead, it's we haven't had a fight. Why is that even in there? Is it to throw us off the trail or someone else off the trail? I don't know why that's there. Unless you're trying to, well, you guys know what I'm talking about. He doesn't mess with the big cat, so I figured I could usually mess with the big cat. So I figured I could postpone him indefinitely on that point, and he should have just been happy to have keys to all the servals, caracals, and links. He appeared justified, if not happy. So this is stuff we have to remember to see if they have some footage. We just need to see if her story in 98 matches up with this. I'm suspect about when this diary entry was actually written and how many different stories she would tell. Page 2. All right, some of the things in here we should we should pay close attention to. Because every little thing that's said, we really, we're going to pick apart this whole thing. But there's something in this. This is the top half of page 2 that kind of struck me as odd. He's been raising 2 little caracal kittens and has seemed to take a great deal of interest and pride in doing so. He pulled them much too young, and I'm already raising a very difficult little bobcat kitten. So I did not jump in and offer to do his midnight and 3 a.m. feedings. He hasn't dutifully gotten up for these feedings every night, but he does the 7 a.m. feeding. During the day, he has made no provisions for the kittens to be fed, other than allowing every volunteer who asks to feed. We have never had a cub survive a lot of inexperience, and I have been reluctant to get attached to them at all, because I have been so sure that his approach would kill these 2. He began this while I was in Jacksonville. All right, now, this is what stood out. I haven't written much in a while because things have been going so smoothly for a change. I'm not so sure I see it that way. According to Anne, there was just a big fight 3 nights before, or whatever it was, on Thursday night. This is supposed to be written Tuesday, so we're talking Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so 3-4 nights ago. And then he has been working on selling the scrap in the yard and having it all hauled off. She throws in having it all hauled off. We know after he went missing, Jim Moore told us that stuff was being hauled off, hauled out of there, like just tons of stuff being hauled out. And that would have been a place to put someone. I'm not so sure that was all his idea, because the protection order that he filed on the 12th, he complains about her removing some of his scrap, his junk. So anyway, he has been working on selling the scrap in the yard and having it all hauled off. He took care of things with Jamie supervising while I went away for 4 days in Jacksonville for the LIOC conference, and no one died or got loose. I do believe it was that conference that was like 2 weeks prior, where there are people saying that there were comments made by Carol saying that I wish he would just go away and never come back. And then another statement of, I don't want to divorce him and get half. I want it all. So these are things that are out there. These are, I've shared screenshots before, but I do believe that was this conference. He bought my mother a sewing machine and my daughter several wave runners and gave me the pair of snow leopards that he knew I thought about for a very long time, although I never said so. Next page. Still page 2, just the second half. But I am really curious about some of the stuff in that paragraph, especially having it all hauled off. That word there just sticks out to me for some reason. He's been pretty reliable in helping with the evening feedings of the adult cats. I think I'm going to skip this paragraph here. There's nothing in there that really stands out except the very last part where she says, but I can't really get angry with him because I know that he is no longer responsible for his actions. So this is part of the, he's not in his right mind type thing. You can pause it and read all that if you'd like. Last Thursday, he started complaining more than usual about his diarrhea, but he was also complaining that he wasn't getting his vitamins when I was standing over him and watching him take them. So I did not pay much attention to him. So I guess she wants us to believe that she watched him take his vitamins and then he's so out of it that he doesn't even remember taking them. I mean, I think that's what she's saying here. Saturday, he felt good enough to go yard sailing, buying junk, blah, blah, blah. And then, now here's something that stands out. That night, he was in and out until midnight or later digging through all of his yard sale goods to pack. I remember hearing him on the phone with Wendell Williams saying that the signs would be delivered for the 26 lots on Monday morning. Now, what's important to me about that is that we know those signs were actually there Monday morning because Wendell did find them there. So what we need to think about is who all knew that those signs needed to be delivered there. How many people knew? Because if Don didn't deliver them there, someone had to. Whenever the van was planted and the whole story was created that he left on Monday morning, if he left Monday morning, he would have to go drop these signs off. He'd go to the airport, blah, blah, blah. So whoever had information about those signs being dropped off, if that van was planted and Don did not deliver those signs, whoever had information about those signs being dropped off is someone that law enforcement should want to talk to. Because someone knew they had to be dropped off. If Don didn't drop them off, then you find out who knew. And right here, Carol is admitting she knew that those signs needed to be dropped off there. So that's very interesting to me. Page 3. I'll skip the last part of the previous paragraph. Now, this is interesting here. Sunday, he said he was too sick to go to church, but when I got home from the morning services, he was out in the yard busily packing and sorting the box truck for Costa Rica. Now, Anne tells us in that interview that she had asked Carol if Don went to church on Sunday, and Carol said no, that he did not go. He was being pouty. So this does go right in line with Anne's story that she talked about when she asked Carol, did Don go to church with you guys? So no, he didn't go, but she says he was out packing and sorting the box truck. I wonder if there's any witnesses that actually saw him doing this. Now, this is something else right here. I finished making the signs for our 26 slots and then laid down because Sunday is the only day I get for rest. So now we have the signs again that are delivered the next morning. We have Carol admitting she actually has possession of those signs. Not only does she know they need to be delivered, she actually has possession of them. Imagine if Don did not deliver those signs. We have a person that has admitted they actually had possession of them and they knew they needed to be delivered. To me, that's really big. During the day, Don was in and out of the bedroom, scurrying around like a little squirrel, reading the newspaper. He couldn't really read, but whatever. Looking for more guns and motorcycles and planes. Now, from what I understand, most of the guns he had were for collateral. People that would get loans from him, and he would use their guns for collateral. I'm not real sure he was buying guns out of the paper, but I'm not real sure. We could find out. I don't think it's that important. Anyway, I don't remember him calling anyone. Maybe he already had. He was nowhere to be found when it was time for evening services either. So Jamie and I went without him. All right, so she admits she went to church 2 times on that Sunday. Don never went. That was unusual for Don, not to go to church. But here we got Sunday morning. He was feeling good enough during the day to be working, but then he didn't go Sunday evening. I mean, maybe he was not alive Sunday evening, right? And that would explain why he did not go to church. Now, here we go. This is some of the stuff we really need to pay attention to for the Dateline stuff. Sunday night, I needed ingredients for kitten formula and trash cans. I thought Albertsons was an all-night store. So after the 11 p.m. feeding, I drove up there. Albertsons was closed. Now, we know from having worked with MysticalJynx, aka Carrie, that she has a newspaper clipping for the Albertsons store saying it was a 24-hour store. Here she says it was closed. Now, if law enforcement digs into that and they find out that it was a 24-hour store, then we know she probably did not go because she's saying it was closed, when I believe it was open. Now here we go. The station wagon I used overheated and I could not get the radiator cap off. I let the car sit for a long time and tried to start it with no success. I don't know what a long time is there. 15 minutes, 30, I don't know. So I began walking home. I tried to call my daughter, but no one answered. She never does. I tried both lines at home, but the bobcats had peed on the phones by the bed and I had unplugged them to wash them off and had not plugged them back in. So even if Don was in the bedroom, he could not have heard the phones ringing. Now, I've discussed this before. For those that have not seen it, I thought it was really odd that she says, so even if Don was in the bedroom. So by saying that, it appears that she's admitting that she knows he's not in the bedroom. She's not home. Anyway, it's just odd that she would say even if he was in the bedroom. Like, how does she know he was not in the bedroom? And you have the excuse that, I mean, not only that he's not in the bedroom, but the other thing is, well, the phones just happen to be unplugged. It just seems odd to me. And then this even seems more odd. My brother was on patrol on Sheldon Road and was in the middle of an arrest. So he asked another cop to drive me home. But by this time, I was almost there. So does that mean she did not get a ride home? That she just walked the rest of the way? I told Don about the car and he wanted to get it right then, which was around 4 o'clock in the morning. So she gets home around 4 o'clock. I don't know if she just walked the rest of the way home or if she got a ride from this officer. It appears that by using the word but by this time I was almost there, that she did not accept the ride from the other officer. All right, so then she talks about she got back around 4 a.m. And this is Don, his emotions. He was mad about me letting it get overheated and reminded me about the van that died the same way back in February while I was driving. Rather than argue, I just let him rant on as we went for the wagon. I don't know why the mad rush to get to the car, but I assume he did not believe me and perhaps thought he would catch me at something if he raced up there only not to find my car. I'm not real sure about this part of it, but we'll keep reading. He filled the radiator and it started back up, so we took both vehicles back home. He gave me his car phone in case something happened, but who was I going to call? Okay, that right there. He gave me his car phone. I have confirmed this with a witness of some sort that Don called his cell phone his car phone, because back in the 90s, the cell phones that came out, they were like the bag phones. There were car phones to begin with. That's where they really came from. You had a car phone. But he called his cell phone his car phone. So anyway, this was his cell phone. He did not have a separate car phone and cell phone, one and the same. So she says, he gave me his car phone in case something happened, but who was I going to call? So she already said she couldn't call her daughter because she never answered. She couldn't call Dawn at home because, the phones were unplugged. She had been calling from her phone. She had her own cell phone. So it really doesn't make sense that he would have given her his phone. She already had one. I think, this is my opinion, that she said this as a cover story because she ended up with his phone. She told Anne McQueen she had found his phone in one of the vehicles. So I think this was a cover that she had told too many people she had his phone. And here she admits she had the phone. Anyway, I got home a few minutes ahead of him, and when he laid down beside me, he was calmed and tender. We only slept for about an hour or so, and I was just dead to the world. When I heard his voice from the bedroom door, I squinted to see him and could only make out an outline because it was still dark outside and there were no lights on in the room. I looked at the clock, but the lighted dial was out. I later found it unplugged. So she was dead asleep. She woke up. She heard his voice from the bedroom door. She squinted, could only make out an outline of him. I will be curious to see what her recollection is in the Dateline interview tomorrow and see if she talks about any of this stuff in detail like this. Next paragraph. He said to have the guys load all his stuff in the box truck for Costa Rica and to make sure it was running real good because he was going to leave early for Miami tomorrow. I had found out through Rich Reed, one of our volunteers, that Don was planning to go to Costa Rica before schedule. Don hadn't told me, but often he didn't. I suspect that he did not want to give me time to plan things that he would not approve, like repairs and scrap dealers. I don't know why he would not approve scrap dealers. Like if she wanted all this stuff hauled off, I don't know why he would need to approve that with her, but maybe I'm misunderstanding something. But let's go back to where she says, he said he wanted to leave early for Miami tomorrow. So this means he's talking to her Monday morning, and he's talking about leaving for Miami tomorrow. So he would go to Miami tomorrow and load the cars and the box truck and stuff on the barge. It was a barge that went from Miami to Costa Rica. So I don't recall. Let me see what she said in this little recap, in this teaser that they gave us.
My husband left early in the morning and said that he wanted me to get a truck ready, that he was going to be driving down to Miami to put on the freight cargo down to Costa Rica the next day.
Okay, that's what she says in her diary entry, is the next day. So that's the same. It matches. So we'll have to see if the rest of the stuff matches. Or maybe the diary entry is going to match the interview and there will be other things that don't match. We'll have to see. I'm really anxious to watch it. All right, so I think we'll move past that. It's the same date, which is Tuesday, because a lot of the things that came out was he was leaving on Monday to go down there, but she's saying Tuesday, but other people I've heard it was Monday. Like, for example, when I talked to Jim Moore, he says he saw Don Sunday night, and Don told him he was leaving tomorrow. So that would have been Monday. So it's a little confusing. Okay, I got back up at 7:15 and fed my bobcat kitten. I had at first assumed that he had gotten up so early to feed his little caracals, but they were screaming and ate more than usual, so he must not have fed them. Dad got here, which is Vernon Stairs. Dad got here at 7:30, and I relayed Don's message and asked him to relay the part about getting the truck running real good to Kenny Farr if he came in. A few minutes later, Dad showed me where the clutch had been completely taken loose. And when Kenny Farr got in, he said that it was like that on Saturday when Don had asked him to carry the box truck with the forklift over next to the semi-trailer. So does that, let's read that again. Kenny Farr got in. He said it was like that on Saturday when Don asked him to carry the box truck with the forklift over. So right there, Carol is telling us that Kenny saw Don on Saturday. That Don asked him to carry the box truck with the forklift over to the semi-trailer. I don't know if that was the time when Kenny said he was talking to Don, and Don said, if I pull this off, it's going to be the slickest thing I've ever done. I mean, it would have to be in that time, or Kenny saw him again after this. I mean, Carol is saying Kenny saw Don on Saturday. And we know from the documentary that Kenny says he was talking to Don. Don said, if I pull this off, it'll be the slickest thing I've ever done. And then he got a call, and he never spoke to him again. So was that this time or another time? Kenny Farr said Don had some other mechanic doing the work for him, and Ann tried to call the mechanic 3 times with no success. Now, this is the same page. This is just the second half of it, and the subject kind of changes. I had filed the eviction and foreclosure at the courthouse, and the Taurus wagon overheated on the interstate. She's talking about the wagon. My Jeep still had a dead battery. I walked down the West Shore exit where I felt it was safest to depart, and from there to a Shell station with a garage. Juan carried water to the car with me, and what seemed an endless time later, he got the car cranked and we drove it to the station. Juan showed me how the radiator cap had not been screwed down and the steam marks from where the radiator fluids had escaped on one side that was tilted out. Apparently, Don did not put the cap entirely back on last night. So I guess the car overheated because the cap wasn't on. Now, if that was the case and the cap was tilted, I've had vehicles overheat before, and you have a large amount of steam, of course, coming out. So maybe that's what she saw when she said the car overheated. I'm not real sure. She didn't say steam was shooting out and all that kind of stuff. Maybe he didn't screw it down tight because I couldn't get it off the night before. I should have checked. He and a Jamaican-sounding manager, who suggested that I try chickens and voodoo on the doomed car, worked on the wagon for a long time. Then they said the car needed $1,200 in head gaskets, and I told them I only paid $600 for the whole car. I would send our wrecker after it. So I'd like to talk to these guys that worked on the car. I'm not sure it ever happened. And I'd like to find out if it was really $600, but it really doesn't matter. I don't think it matters. It would just be nice to check, but let me keep going. Next page. Now, this is where some people get confused. I only had a little bit of cash on me, so I hired a cab to take me part of the way home and then walked the rest. My legs hurt so bad I could hardly stand up. A lot of people think this is talking about the early morning hours of when the car broke down, because some people have said, well, I heard she took a cab home, or someone from the sheriff's department took her home, or did she walk home? This was after she took the vehicle in to get it worked on, and they were going to have the wrecker come pick it up. That's how it seems, because Don came and picked her up. They drove the wagon back home. That's when she got his cell phone. So it was back home. Then she took it down to, she did the filings. And then she took the car to get looked at. I guess she couldn't drive it back home. So she called a cab. I would assume she could have just put the cap on it and drove it back home, but I don't know. I don't know. Or she could have called someone to come pick her up, but I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. When I got home, Ann was on the phone to Kenny Farr at my house, and we don't know what time, right? Yeah, we don't know what time she got home. When I got home, Ann was on the phone to Kenny Farr at my house, and she said that afternoon that she had been paging Don all day. So this is afternoon. And he would not return her calls, or this would be after the afternoon. I told her I'd just gotten in and didn't know if he was here or not. Kenny Farr said he wasn't. I didn't know until around 6 p.m. that no one ever came to fix the box truck's clutch. At 6:30, when Don did not show up to help feed, I asked the kids to come help me. I would normally take Jamie out to eat after she helps me feed, but was a little concerned about Don's not being here, and I wanted to be here when he got home so I could explain about the box truck and why it wasn't ready. I was afraid that if he got home and found it not ready, he would assume that I had not relayed his orders and might do something foolish to one of the cats. So my question is, she would normally take Jamie out to eat after she helps feed. So I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, just remember this stuff. So when you're watching Dateline, we want to see if any of these details match up or if they don't match up. She gives times here: 6 o'clock, 6:30. There's a lot of details. I gave up waiting for him after the midnight kitten feeding and went to find him. So this is Monday night. He's not seen by her. He left Monday morning. It was a dark figure pretty much. That's the last time she had seen him. I had already searched the yard and all the trailers, but did so again. I then decided to drive by some of his favorite places to hide, like the West Shore property, the condos in Temple Terrace, the Sheldon Road property, and some sleazy motels we used to use. I gave up around 5 a.m. and came home and slept until 7:15. So basically, she was out all night looking for Dawn. After midnight, she went and looked for him till 5 a.m. She came home and slept for a couple hours. Tuesday morning, before Ann even went to work, she called me telling me how worried she was. And she said that she had paged Dawn throughout the night to no avail. I told her that this is not unusual for him to do, but she insists that he never treats her this way. She said that I must hate her because she is always in contact with my husband, even when he won't call me. I don't know. I think that, I don't know if that really happened or not. I don't know. I told her that I don't hold that against her because at least I can find out that he is safe and can quit worrying. All right, so let's read this again. Tuesday morning, before Ann even went to work, she called me telling me how worried she was. Now, from what we know, Ann was calling him Friday at 4 o'clock. That's when it started. She called him over the weekend, paged him, calling Monday also. I do believe that Carol said that she talked to Ann on Monday as well. Carol went out at midnight and looked for him till 5 a.m. Even though she says this is not unusual for him to do this. That strikes me as a little odd. This is not out of the norm, but I'm going to go ahead and go out all night looking for the guy. But this is normal. I don't know. To me, it seems a little off. We'll keep going. Ann was really frantic about Dawn getting in touch with her, but I find it hard to get all worked up over him disappearing for a day because this has become so much of his behavior with me that it no longer surprises me. So once again, I have concern about her saying she's out from midnight till 5 a.m. looking for him when she's not surprised. I mean, I don't know. To me, it just seems odd. I told her I would file a missing persons report, and she decided to call the hospitals, morgues, and travel agent about his ticket. She said there has been no activity on his credit card, and that is how he normally buys his tickets. A couple days later, the charge came through on his tickets for the 31st of August. And yeah, I know I change words sometimes. So this here, I'm concerned with Ann was really frantic about Dawn not getting in touch with her, but I find it hard to get all worked up over him disappearing for a day. Although she said she was out for 5 hours from midnight to 5 a.m., and this would have been the day after she was out all night again when she came home and slept for like a little over an hour from 6 to 7:15 or no, they got back at 4. So she slept for a couple of hours. And now the following night, she's out all night again and gets another couple of hours of sleep. So it just seems a little odd to me, all of it. Here she talks about Anne telling, well, it's on the previous page, that Anne says Wendell Williams went to the farm to look for Don. And then Carol says, I find it funny that Don's not gone more than a few hours, and the last place he was known to be was Wind and Williams when he dropped off the 26 signs for the 26 lots. But who should panic and start searching airports other than Wendell? The farm was a legitimate place to look because no one is there now. So we talk about these signs again, and we know that she knows about the signs because she says she heard Wendell on the phone with Dawn and that Dawn needed to drop these signs off on Monday morning. So what does she say? That Wendell would have seen Dawn. Now, I did talk to Wendell. He didn't see him Monday morning. Wendell said he did not see him. He did say he saw the signs. He went and saw the signs on Monday morning over at Sheldon Wynn's office, but he never saw Dawn. So this strikes me as a little odd. It's almost like if you need a suspect, Wendell Williams was the last person to see him because Dawn dropped the signs off over there. I don't think Dawn ever dropped them off, actually. So anyway, it says Deputy Pena came out after I called in the initial info and took my statement. He said that Don is not in jail and that the info on his van will notify them if it is impounded or involved in a wreck. He said that they don't often find missing persons who are adults because adults are free to do as they please and are more careful than children about not being found. He said they would call me or the office if they found anything. This statement where she says he said that the info on his van will notify them if it's impounded or involved in a wreck. We know the van was found the next morning at like 4:30 a.m., right? However, on the actual Pasco report, it actually says Tuesday morning at 4:30 a.m. So if that report is correct, the van would have been found about 9 hours before this conversation is happening. The Pasco County report on the van actually says Tuesday morning, 4:30 a.m. A lot of people have reported that it's Wednesday morning because I believe on the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department report, it says Wednesday. So that's something we should look into. Was it really Tuesday? Was it found Tuesday morning or Wednesday? But it does say that the info in the van will notify them if it's impounded or involved in a wreck, but we know that there was no license plate on the van when it was found. All right, so I'll keep going. Call them if Don comes home. He was very polite in dealing with a situation where it appears that I'm overreacting to a straying husband. If he knew anything about Don's history, he probably wouldn't have even bothered to drive out here. Now, once again, she talks about going out and looking for him from 12 midnight till 5 a.m. And then here, she acts like it's no big deal, like she's overreacting. Yet she went out and looked for him all night. And to me, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. Okay. Then we go to, there were calls in the memory in Don's car phone, and this is also his cell phone. And then it has these numbers. Let me go to the next page. I've asked my brother, Chuck Stairs, to get a copy of our non-long distance phone calls for that week if he can, but he says he will need a warrant. I'm not real sure if he did need a warrant or not. I don't think it would have been that hard to get a warrant if Carol would have been working with the courts also. I don't know if that ever happened. Or do I? Okay, next thing. After all the cats and kittens were fed, Anne called and asked me to go check the Riverwood house because she says it is empty now. With Don's mental problems, which, we don't think, I don't think, a lot of people don't think he had any. With Don's mental problems, he may have gone there since we used to live there, or maybe he's just looking for his gold. At any rate, I drove out there and he's not there. Although the deer still are, and someone left the gate standing open. I don't know why we need to know that the deer are still out there. Like, I don't know how that's relevant. I don't know. I drove home and called Ann with no news, and she said she wanted to go check out Tampa Bay Executive Airport because I had told her about Don looking at an experimental plane there last week. I didn't want to wait an hour for her to get here and then have another hour round trip drive, so I told her I would go look and call her if my plane were missing or if the experimental plane was missing. My plane was still there, but the little ultralight looking experimental plane was not. So this makes us think that Don had a plane there that he was looking at that all of a sudden he took. Is that what we're led to believe? This is the last page, which just carries over. I had the last four numbers, not five apparently, but I called Ann on Don's car phone before I knew that you could recall the last five numbers, so I lost one. So there's one number missing. I didn't get a copy of the missing person report until 4/28/98 after my attorney requested it and the sheriff faxed it to me. So this is her diary entry for August 19th, 1997. We just have to take this information and let's see how it matches up with her interview on Dateline, which will be on Monday, the 12th, which from right now is like 1 day away. Actually, matter of fact, it's less than 24 hours away. So anyway, we just have to see if it matches up. There's some stuff in this diary entry that doesn't match other stories and other things that are out there. So you have to grab all the information that you can and combine it and figure it all out and then put it together and put it to good use, which that's what we're in the process of doing. Okay, everybody, this has gone on a lot longer than I thought. But everyone that's here, thank you for being here. Thank you for the support. The family appreciates all the support everybody has provided. The group, everybody that's done the hardcore research, the family appreciates that, as do I, as I've always said. If it wasn't for the researchers and the core people and all of that stuff, I wouldn't be able to do what I do right now. I've always said it. I always appreciate the help. Okay, everybody, stay safe out there. I'm Ripper, and I'm out.